Hi, my name is Alanah Odoms. I'm the Executive Director of the ACLU of Louisiana. I am pleased to be with two incredible leaders of the Black Panther Party of New Orleans, and we'll be having a conversation with Ronald Ailsworth and Betty Toussaint Ailsworth in honor of the 50th anniversary of the Black Panther Party in New Orleans. I'm joined today with Ronald and Betty. Welcome, how are you?
Thank you. How are you?
It's so beautiful to see you both. And I just want to start this conversation off by asking you, what does the Black Panther Party mean to you, and what does it stand for?
Well, for me, it was an awareness for me because a lot of things were going on that I couldn't put a label on it. I'd see the harassment by the police officers in the community, but I didn't have a name for it. I saw it, I knew it wasn't right, but after visiting with the party and I began to go to what they call PE classes, political education classes, I became more aware of what was going on. So it was a good time in my life. It was a good time for me. I did what I like to do, and that served the people.
Yes, indeed. Miss Betty, I'll just take a step back and ask you, you're a young woman, young black woman in New Orleans. You're from the West Bank of Louisiana, you said. You're 20 years old. What draws you to the Black Panther Party at that age in your life?
Well, really, when I was in high school, I went to Landry, and some of the football team had left off of the campus to go get something to eat and came back. So the principal thought he'd embarrassed them by calling a meeting in the cafeteria, so in the auditorium. So we went to that, and he did embarrass him. And then something was said about Governor John McKippen making a statement about, we're not going to let these people get a foothold here. Boop, that was my key word, a foothold here. What do you mean? So that piqued my curiosity, and then I sought out the party location uptown, and I went to it.
Were you afraid? Were you thinking, am I going to be able to join this organization? Are they going to welcome me? Did you have any concerns about that?
No, not at all. I just wanted to know what was going on, what were they talking about, and what were they doing. So I happened to go during a weekday, and all the comrades were out in the fields, the community, selling papers, taking donations, things like that. And I got to talk to a brother that was in charge that day, and his name was Charles Scott Chucky. And he told me a little bit about the party, but he was trying to get me to go sell them papers. I'm not selling no papers on Canal Street. I'm full of pride. I don't know nothing about these papers. So I did a little typing in the office for him every now and then. I'd go around. And eventually I joined the party, maybe a couple weeks later, because they were getting ready to move to the night ward. And I went there and I joined.
Beautiful. So just give a little framing for the reason why I asked about a level of concern or fear. So you're seeing obviously lots of violence in the community, police perpetrating violence on people of color. There's a lot, I think, of misconception about who the Black Panther Party is, who you were. And a lot of people identify the Black Panther Party with violence or with militarism or with these ideas that are so antithetical to who you are. So can you tell me a little bit about the heart of the Black Panther Party and what some of your core principles are?
Well, the party, as you say, people relate the party with violence because you have a lot of young black people with weapons. They never saw us with weapons, but that's the vision that you have. And so I didn't have a thought about that because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about the party at all. But what I did know was that they had a concern for the community. They were trying to help the people if they needed lawyers or whatever they needed. We cleaned houses, we ran errands, we made groceries for them. But I really liked the part about the party having the free breakfast program where they fed the children every day before they went to school. And the children, I tell you, they are some jewels.
Wow.
It was a really good time. It was some sacrifices made because at 5 o'clock we'd be up on the buses. We had 3 locations that we did the breakfast program in, and we were on the buses and we were going with the food to prepare that breakfast, and it was a joy. It was a pleasure.
That's amazing. So talk to me about the role of men and women in the party. I mean, lots of folks don't know about the inner workings of the party, how it operated. So could you talk to us about, your role in particular, and the role of women as opposed to the role of men in the party?
Well, in the party, there was no difference. The men and the women, we were equal. What we did, they did, and vice versa. We cooked, we cleaned. They cooked, they cleaned. We took care of the children. We all worked the breakfast program. We all sold the papers, and I remember sometime I owned y'all like this with all the papers, trying to make it to Canal Street on the bus to sell them. We had the cans that we shipped to get the nations for the breakfast program, and then some of us would have to go out to the community to ask different businesses to give something back to the community, to donate, excuse me, to the free breakfast program. And so that was a blast.
Wow.
We were all young, so we were all energetic, and it was just a thing to do.
That sounds really beautiful. I'm really interested in the ways in which you galvanized and brought the community together to serve children and to give back to the community. Can you talk about the ways that you did that?
Well, that wasn't hard, because once you start doing something for somebody, you grab their attention, and they're interested in you and what you're doing, and they saw that what we did from our heart. We weren't paid to do that. It was not a job for us. It was something that we enjoyed giving back to the community. Like I said, we had the free breakfast program that we fed the children 5 days a week. We had vans that took people to the prisons, to Angola, San Gabriel, to visit their loved ones. We made groceries for some of the older people in the neighborhood. We cleaned their houses. It just was a pleasure what we did, and because we poured out love,
Yes.
they gave love back to us.
Yes, that's so beautiful. I really love that all of this was centered around love. I wonder if you could walk me through the 10 points, the 10-point program of the Black Panther Party, because I just recently learned what these 10 points were, and I know there's a lot, so it's okay if you refer to your notes, but I think it's important to help people understand what the actual tenets of the organization are.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of old.
That's
so
all right. You're okay.
I did jot it down.
You're okay. That's okay.
The 10-point platform program of the Black Panther Party was what we wanted and what we believed. So the first one said that we want freedom. We want power to determine our own destiny in our black communities. We weren't doing that. Everybody's telling us what to do. Go here, stand there, get to the back of the bus, different stuff like that. So we didn't have any power or real control. So we wanted power and whatever thing that controlled our destiny. And then number 2 said we want full employment for our people. We need employment. How can you make it if you're codependent on somebody else to take care of you or provide your needs? It always keeps you bound. And then we said, the third one was, we want to end to robbery by the white man of our black community. Well, we know we did a lot of things and they took credit for us. We did a lot of good things, a lot of discoveries that they took credit for. So we wanted that to end. I'm just giving this time briefly. Number 4 said, we want decent housing fit for shelter of human beings. You know the slumlords of this city. You know the rat trap houses that we have, and it just wasn't right. You can go to the other neighborhoods and you didn't see that. And so we're saying we want the same thing. We want decent housing. We don't want to just have a house or something that you just throw some walls, because we still have that today.
Yes.
But we were saying back there in 1960, 1967, 68, and so on, we want decent houses that's fit for humans, not something that you put an animal in.
Correct.
So that's one of our points. Point number 5 said we want education for our people that exposes the true nature of the decadent American society. And so that's what we wanted. We needed to be educated. Some folks didn't get to go to school, like my mother. I think my mother only went to about 5th grade or something like that. Well, we know we need more education than that, especially in this time. If you don't have an education, you have a real hard time making it. So Hugh and Bobby really were visionaries to think of this back then, and it still applies to us today. So number 6 said we want all black men exempt from military service. That's what we wanted. We didn't want to have to go to fight somebody that had never harmed us. They hadn't done anything to us. Why should we go to Vietnam messing with them people?
Yes.
They're as pressed as we are.
Yes.
So we didn't want to do that. And number 7 brings us where we are today. We want an immediate end to police brutality. We wanted it then, we still want it now. And murder of black people. The Second Amendment gives us that right, a right to bear arms. So when you're talking about young black people, they got guns, we had a right to have those guns.
And we have a right today.
Concealed. Yeah,
That's right.
They weren't concealed, they were in the open. So we used to say, you got your gun, I got mine, you shoot at me, I'm shooting back. That kind of caught a lot of attention. We're not messing around, because what King did was a great thing, nonviolence. And he went as far as he could go with that. But it wasn't working. And see, every generation has to find their own neck at what they're gonna do. So that worked for him then. I remember my daddy saying, if Martin Luther King come to New Orleans, I'm going out there. I didn't understand it. I think I was about 13. But then when it got to be my time, I wasn't talking about a nonviolent march, because the Panthers came with another program. You shoot at me, I'm shooting back. So the rhetoric changed, but it was more than rhetoric. We were willing to take a stand and do what needed to be done to bring about a change. It had to start somewhere.
And I think it's important to say that it was about self-defense, right? So it just meant that the
That was
Panthers
our
were
name.
not advocating that you would Black Panther Party for self-defense, and yeah, so it wasn't about shooting at people or attacking people. This was about the right
We never did that.
to protect yourself. Okay, and so then you had number 8. You're almost there.
It says, we want freedom for all black men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails. Okay, so you know about that.
I sure do.
Because it's everything that's black going to jail. You're looking for a black man, a sister, one, a husband. All the good men are in jail.
Well, and today, Louisiana leads the nation in incarceration. Black people make up 33% of our population, but 66% of our incarcerated population. And on any given day, we have over 15,000 people in our jails awaiting charge or trial. And so we still have an obsession with incarceration. And frankly, that obsession really focuses on demonizing, criminalizing black and brown bodies, men and women, and of course our children. So that still is so relevant.
And that we get a fair trial.
Yes.
Because you still have police that are brutalizing and murdering black people, sisters as well as brothers. And if they are arrested, if by chance they happen to go to jail, when they go to trial, they're found out guilty.
Yes.
Somebody's dead, but you're not guilty. See, that's a problem right there. So that still has to be addressed. And like I was saying to a young man on Tuesday night, you can glean from us some things, but you cannot be a carbon copy of us, because you have to change with the situation and the timing. You got to find what works for you to help bring about that change. So number 10 says, we want land, we want bread, we want houses, we want education, clothing, justice, and peace. And that's a part of the Declaration of Independence.
Yes,
we want that.
Absolutely.
We deserve it.
I think the thing that stands out to me so much about this 10-point plan is there's nothing in there about violence. There's nothing in there about hatred. As a matter of fact, all the things that I heard were housing, education, freedom from being incarcerated, the opportunity to have food and clothing, some of just the basic needs. And so really this is a platform that's articulating the human dignity of black people and the opportunities that we believe we should have to live freely and to prosper. And so I think that's really important for our viewers to understand. Can you tell me, with a program like that, with a platform like that that's centered on education, love, housing, stopping incarceration, why were you targeted by the police, and why were you constantly attacked and abused and sought out by law enforcement? And how did that happen? If you could talk a little bit about the ways that you were treated by law enforcement.
Well, it's something I believe began with Hoover. And it's just when you stand up for yourself, you always find somebody that will want to knock you down. Hoover was like a bully of some sort. And
you're referring to J. Edgar Hoover.
And so you got young people that's doing something that's never been done before. We had the courage to arm ourselves. And not only that, leadership knew the law. They knew the law. And so they taught us, that passes on down to us. let us know that we had a right to bear arms. We had a right to strive for change. And so that's basically what we did.
Betty, can you talk to me about the police raids on the Black Panther Party? I know that is might be a difficult subject to talk about, but can you talk about the night of the raid?
That's not difficult. It's history. Well, I was in the 2nd grade. My husband was in the 1st. And there was a group that was going on Washington. And they were arrested on a highway en route to it. And so some priests had volunteered or been contacted to help get these people out of jail. Some of those were party members, some of those were just community people or community workers. Community workers were people that worked with us as if they were party members. The only difference was they didn't live with us, they came and they went. But they were very, very helpful to us. And so after that situation, about close to midnight, it was November 26th, Thanksgiving Day. But it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I happened to go into the kitchen. Well, you know, we didn't have no windows in the Desire Project. Some of us didn't. We didn't. And I saw the mail truck go by at almost 1 o'clock in the morning. So I stuck my head out the window and looked around, but I couldn't see where the truck went. So he didn't go to the corner because I still would see him. So he had to have turned between the 2 buildings. And then at that time, the knock came on the door, and another sister said she opened the door and they pulled her out. And they came in shooting, no questions asked.
So they just showed up. They did not announce themselves. They just came in shooting at you all.
They came under the guise that they were coming to bring funding to get those people out of jail. Yeah, they were dressed
as priests.
Uniforms.
Oh my!
that was their costume.
fully in a disguise.
They didn't give a donation. When they opened the door, they smashed out this one.
Wow. Wow.
And so when they came in shooting, I'm coming out the kitchen, but as I'm nearing the doorway, they're already shooting with the buckshots. I got hit. And it must have knocked me out momentarily because as I came through, I could see the chips off the cabinet just flying down. So they were steadily shooting.
So Miss Betty, you were actually shot that night?
Yeah, with double buck. It went through my breast and came on my arm. I still have 5 buckshots in my body.
Oh my God.
The doctor said that at the rate of speed that they were traveling, they didn't need to take them out because they were already sterile. So,
oh my.
Yeah, I have that mark.
And so tell me, how did the rest of what happened after that, after the raids?
So then after that, instead of bringing me straight to the hospital, they put me in the back of a police car. I don't know if it's marked or not. I believe it was unmarked. And he brought me over to Ailsworth Street and Park. My thought was that they were going to beat me, but a call came on the radio inquiring where I was, and they said to bring me on to the hospital, and that's what they did.
So they didn't intend to take you to the hospital at first. No. They were going to bring you somewhere else.
I thought they would beat me. They might have killed me. I don't know.
While you were bleeding from your gunshot wounds, they did not intend to take you to the hospital.
No. If that phone call had not come, and so when we get to Charity Hospital, as we're coming up the ramp, somebody said, "Who shot you?" So I say the pigs shot me. So no more comment. Brought me in and brought me into the back to where they do the x-rays at. Took all my clothes and laid me on this cold table or metal or whatever it was, x-ray table. So I'm laying up there naked with a sheet on me, and they're like doing a tour. Everybody just passing through looking at me. Somebody might say oink oink or whatever, and they'll pass through. So one of the doctors said, "Who shot you?" I said, "The fascist police shot me." And he said, "I'm a fascist pig doctor." And he went on with his business. So they sent down 3 pints of blood 2 times, but each time they sent it back. I never got the blood. They gave me a sugar cast, close my right arm, and set me up to the floor. And then shackled my leg and my good arm to the bed. And that's where I stayed until they decided they want to come and harass me, you know.
Oh, yeah. Miss Betty, that sounds like such a traumatic experience.
It was, but when you're young, you don't be thinking about everything, you know. It's just something that you went through. I never thought I'd get shot, go to jail, or none of that. I didn't think that far. But I knew something had to be done, and it was like, I had to do something.
So they charged you. So they had you shackled, so they were treating you as if you were a prisoner while you were in the hospital trying to recover from your gunshot wounds. What did they charge you with, Miss Betty, and then what happened in terms of the time that you had to then spend incarcerated?
Well, I was charged with 6 attempted murders on police officers.
Wait. You were charged with an attempted murder on the police officers. Who shot you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Criminal anarchy, criminal trespassing.
Criminal trespass and anarchy.
Right. Well, if you really add them up, and I tried to add them up, I haven't added since, but at that time I was under the impression that I was facing 105 years and or the electric chair. Nobody has ever said I didn't count it right, but my counting at that time, that's what I was facing.
Wow.
So I stayed in jail 11 months and 3 weeks waiting to go to trial.
And then tell us about that. Tell us about the legal victory that you were able to win.
Well, the reason we got victory in both situations is because of the people. Well, all glory goes to God. We really needed Him. And where some of us didn't have the wherewithal that we needed to be praying, our parents were praying, and some of us did pray, and God and the grace of the people, the help of the support of the community, the black community, came out. They were at the trials. They were throwing power signs. They were chanting some of our songs, and some of us were out there with the buttons that wasn't incarcerated at the time. And
how many of you all were incarcerated based on those raids? Do you remember?
With the raid that I was in, I hate to say shootout because it wasn't a shootout. It really was a shooting.
Just shooting going one direction.
Right. So in that it was 6 of us. In the first group it was 12. So sometime, we were all incarcerated together, the sisters of us. They put us all in one cell, but then they decided it was too many of us together, and they wanted to split us up and put some on one side of the tier and some on the other side. So that brought about a fight right then. The captains from parish prison themselves came over, and they decided to separate us. They didn't tell us they wanted to move us, but they just came in with violence, and so we had a little fight, a little scrimmage to get us separated then. And it was a lot.
Miss Betty, how did you keep your hope through all of this? I mean, you said you were a young person, and so you had to obviously, once you became incarcerated, understand and feel the anguish and the stress of what was happening to you. How did you keep your hope, and how did you not become so upset about what was happening?
Like I said, we were young. We were young, and I think we fed off each other. We kept each other encouraged. We kept each other lifted in. And then some people from the community would come by the prisons, and they would holler up at us, and we would holler back down at them. And so,
So we do quite a bit of work in the civil rights and civil liberties context at the ACLU. We have been working for the last several months to try and get people released from prison and from jail because of the coronavirus pandemic. We've been trying to hold government accountable, including the governor and elected officials and judges, to release people who shouldn't be in prison.
Right.
A lot of our work centers on decarceration. Tell me what you think the role of civil rights organizations like the ACLU have in fighting for an end to racist policing and police violence of black people.
Well, I really can't answer all those questions, but the main thing is that the ACLU and the lawyers, they lend a voice to people that are incarcerated. Some people are not even able to afford legal counsel, so that's a big help right there. And not only that, by helping them with their cases, they're also being educated. They're learning a little bit more about the system other than just being locked up and thrown away. So it's a great benefit, and it's needed.
Very, very much so. I appreciate that. So, in today's society, we talked about point number 7 of the 10-point plan, which is stopping police brutality. Back in the 60s, we obviously had an epidemic of police violence, and we still have that epidemic today. And we see young people, protesters, all working in service of Black Lives Matter. What do you think is different about the movements of today for Black liberation, or do you see a difference?
There is some difference One difference being is the access to the media. Everybody has a phone that has a camera on it. So even though you knew it was happening, you'd hear about it a little bit. But if everybody pulling out their camera when something happens, then there's no more knowledge about it. And not only that, the difference now as opposed to then was something would happen. Somebody would be violated or abused, and you'd know the police did it, and you could say that they did it, and they'll go say they didn't do it. Of course, they're going to be believed. And so you went on that. So the community would be upset, rightly so, about it, and we would protest or we would march for a little while, you know, a few days, and then it kind of like fade away, and I believe they counted on that. But now, because of the camera and all the injustices that are occurring, people are more aware of it, and a lot of people saying, okay, this is enough, it's time to stop this. We're in the 20s now, 2020, it's time to stop this foolishness. And so people are coming out, and they're doing whatever they need to do to make about a change. And like I said, they can't do everything we do. You can't just go out there with your guns talking about you're going to shoot them back, but you have to find what works for you. And I was saying to my husband an example like Big Mike. He has this studio, and he's really educating people through art, through poetry, of what's being done. That's his contribution. That's his way of fighting back. I'm saying that. I'm speaking.
No, that's absolutely right. And we should speak. We are in this amazing. We're in this beautiful space and this backdrop of I am my ancestors' wildest dreams, and I think B. Mike thinks very actively about the ways he can use his platform in order to fight for Black liberation. So I wonder what pieces of advice you would share with young activists today who are seeking the same kind of change that you were seeking when you were just a young person in the Black Panther Party.
I'd say seek God. You need his leading and his guidance, because you really can't do anything without him. And so if you find out from God what he'd have you to do and which way he'd have you to do, then you walk that way. God will never lead you wrong, but you need that spiritual background. You need some help, because everything isn't done just in the natural. Some things are done in the spirit realm. A lot of people are not aware of that, but you need to know what God's plan is for you. You might want to be a nurse, but God might want you to be a speaker. You got to know what your purpose is in life. And whatever your purpose is in life, you use that as a means of helping bring about a change in the country.
That resonates very deeply with me. I want to ask you something. Sometimes religion feels very exclusionary to young people. Sometimes the ways that the church operate don't welcome everyone in. You have to dress a certain way, or you have to have a certain gender identity, or you have to have a certain sexual orientation, or you have to be a certain way in order for you to be accepted into the church. So you talked about spirituality. If I'm just a young person and I have a dream about trying to make change and I want to connect to spirit, but I don't want to go to church, how do I do that, Miss Betty? How do I hear God's voice? How do I hear the universe is calling for me and really listen to that? Is there a way, how do you think that we young people could go about doing that?
Sometimes there are many voices that have gone out into the land, but whose voice are you listening to?
Yes.
Sometimes you need to just get off on your own. Find that quiet place and meditate. You know, you think on God. You put your thoughts towards him. And if you listen, see, we want to pray and jump up and run, but if you just take time and stay there a while, God will answer you. He will talk to you. He talks to us all. We just not listen. We're not keyed in. But if you get in tune with him, get in focus with him, he'll tell you just what you need to know, because he's not respect a person. Yeah, I'm a minister, and there are a lot of obstacles to that. We don't want a woman minister.
Correct.
We don't want this, and we don't want that.
Correct.
But hear God. You got to obey God rather than man. And, He'll work it out for you, but you got to seek him. You got to seek him.
All right, young people,
you
you are getting some real wisdom here. Get quiet. Meditate, focus yourself on love, focus yourself on God, and you can hear God's message. That is incredible. I have one last question that I want to ask you. You are sitting here next to this incredibly handsome gentleman, Ronald. I need to know how it is that Miss Betty Toussaint became Betty Toussaint Ailsworth. And if you wouldn't mind sharing with our audience how this love story came to be. And maybe, and we will let Ronald say something at some point. We definitely will.
Okay. Well, I met Ron when I first joined the party, and we were having one of those PE classes on Piety Street in the Ninth Ward, and we were out on the porch, upstairs on the porch, and he was sitting out on the porch, and I knew I had only recently joined, and so of course he's giving me the third degree.
Trying to figure out what you're all about.
Yeah.
Get into your mind.
She want to be a panther.
Yeah, she wanted to be a panther.
I
You
gotta
gonna
take a little girl and spank her.
you gonna explain it to her? Okay, that's right.
No,
There we go.
spank her.
Oh, spank
Go on
her.
my knee and spank her. Don't you want to be a panther?
There you
You'd
go.
have had a problem. Yeah, and so, we spoke briefly before they had what they call a people's trial for Ronald Reed and the other police. Melvin Howard.
Israel Field.
And Israel Field, right, excuse me.
got you.
Reed, that was a policeman. And so they had that. And so I don't remember seeing him again. He said that I saw him again when we were going to court
And she don't remember.
in the docks, federal court. We were
Yeah.
going in the
See, I got
docks. He said, you
convicted
saw me. I
For
didn't
bank robbery.
So Ronald, just so I can be clear, what was your role in the Panther Party, just so we can give a background?
Well, I was one of the original founders. Of the
Original
Black Panther Party.
founders
Me
of
and
the-
brother named Steve Green. But we started out as an umbrella organization, now Community Combat Classes on Pike,
Right.
on
Thomas.
St. Thomas Street.
Okay.
See? And like I said, I found out about it. Some of the black nationalists in the community, older dudes told me that the Panther was coming and saw the headquarters.
Okay.
So I went over there, check it out.
And you said you wanted to be a part of it.
You asked me, what brought us to this point of wanting to get political involved, or wanting to do something for the people?
Yes.
First book, I had a brother in there, Reverend Ailsworth, and he like my idol. Whatever he did, I did. He stopped eating pork, I stopped eating pork. And he was always reading books. Yeah, intellectual books. And he read a book by Jamal Elamine, Rap Brown, Brian Bailey Brown, and he gave me a copy of that book. And I read that book. I was about 20 years old. And that book really, I think, motivated me. So when I was working at a stock exchange company, too, taking it back, and I seen a magazine with the Panthers on it. And what moved me about the Panther, the breakfast program, I seen them feeding them babies. That really tore my heart. I said, man, I like to do this, And then when they said I was coming, I went over there and went in, and the brother named Steve sitting on the floor, and he was running how he came, they set him down in, Geronimo sitting right there, started headquarters, and he asked anybody want to join. All the older dudes that I was of mine and the black nationalists, they walk out the door. So what's going on here? I just raised my hand. I said, brother, I'll join. I said, let me go get my clothes from my brother's house. And I came back.
You moved just that very
and
day.
stayed in that house with him all that night when I was the first one to join with him.
The first one.
Yeah, and had an album on all night. I was listening to Al Hard Me Survive, Malcolm X, Message to the Grassroots. And then next day, we got some papers, me, him, and other few people who started coming in.
And what year was that?
That was in 1969.
1969.
And we were the first one to hit Elm Street with Black Panther paper. And in the college campus, me and Steve went to Southern, Dillon, with all the campuses.
Okay. So do you remember meeting Betty?
Well, I'm saying I met her, she said September the 14th on that porch. But the next time I seen her, when I just had got convicted for 20 years on bank robbery. And she don't remember. She was in the docks. And I came back through the docks. And she pulled me to her. And she kissed me. And I didn't know then she reached a $20 bill in my hand.
Aww.
When I went back and I told her brother, I said, man, Betty gave me this. We bought Zulu. We partied that night.
Oh my goodness. Do you remember?
She don't remember
Do you
it.
remember kissing him, Miss Betty?
Well, I probably did because I
Yeah.
kissed all the brothers. And we'd have been arrested and we don't know what's going to happen. So I gave them all a kiss.
Right. But he made it seem like this was a
Yeah.
special one. Was it? This was a special
To
kiss.
me, but, it's always impressive. But that's at that time that I feel like the whole world was coming on. You done challenge the system and said, give me 20 years. 20, that was a life sentence.
Yes, indeed.
So
you were
when-
20 years old
Yeah,
with a
seeing her,
20-year
like you said,
sentence.
my God, seeing her, that's like it relieved me. I said, wow. And maybe look at it, this ain't hard as it gonna be where you're going, the federal prison.
Well, let me say this. After I was shot, and I had already been in the house with D, but they used to bring me back to Charity Hospital, I guess for treatment. But I remember going to take an X-ray, and I'm sitting there waiting to be X-rayed, and another brother named Leroy that had been shot in the first shootout, he came out, and the first thing he said was, they told us you was dead. I'm like, they told us you were dead, you know? So I'm not expecting to see anybody that I know. That was a surprise. So yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about this beautiful reunion. How did this come about?
Like I said, I've been out now. Next month it'll be a year on September the 20th.
And how much time
but
did you?
I always had to keep contact with no brothers that I go, I better follow them. And I talked to her one time, she was in Washington, D.C. on telephone. You know, but I always had felt that this is my soul, baby.
You knew that from the time she kissed you?
Yeah, I figured this is my soul.
Oh
baby.
my.
You know, but I told her right then, I said, you know, I ain't had no route no more get released. I had 40 years.
40 years. So you didn't know whether you'd ever see her
No,
again.
But you know, when I got out, and brother called her, Malik called her over to the house. He came over to the house, and like I said, we started getting personally involved. You know, and she said, "Look, I love you like a comrade, but I can't love you no other way."
So she rejected you at
Did
first.
she?
Time.
Hey, you talking about getting to bed? You better dot your I's and cross your T's.
See, Miss Betty's serious. She's not just.
She don't know. Apple made me respect her because easy come, easy go. You see?
All right now.
But I already knew.
You knew she.
I can't lose what I use.
Oh my.
You gonna marry me, you know it.
And so you wore her down. You kept
love and tenderness.
You kept on her.
Yeah, but then I say you say God was just destined for us to be.
God was destined.
I say some people don't never meet their soulmate. You have a soulmate. Sometimes you don't never be blessed to meet in this lifetime. I was blessed to meet in my lifetime.
And so you knew you weren't letting her go.
She
Yeah,
didn't
but
want to go.
I was praying. See, I was
praying.
praying, and I was praying for a husband. You know, you get to the point where you're just tired. I've been got tired of playing games. I don't want to run no game. I don't want no game run on me. And so now I'm just living a celibate life. I'm being a minister, and I'm content. But I'm ready for a husband. So I heard my pastor used to say, he said, be specific with God about what you want, what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about it. What do I want in a husband? I've been married before, so I picked some lemons.
Mm-hmm.
So this time I'm not doing that. I'm gonna let God do it for me. So I knew the qualities that I wanted in a husband, and I'm steady rejecting him. I'm like, you better shop around. You're moving too fast. Go ahead, shop. Trying to encourage him to go out there and find somebody because it's not me. But I was praying one morning, and God said, take another look. He said, take another look. He said, he got all the qualities you asked for.
All right now.
And so I had to think on that. And so when I talked to him again, I told him I'd marry him.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so God guided. He did it.
This is I feel like this is like a story that could be with a Hallmark card. I mean, like it's such
I tell her that.
it's a beautiful story.
It's people, you know, like see. It's about love. I tell you, love is in the heart. You can't legislate that. It breaks through religious preference and nationality. Yeah, all that.
It sure
I
does.
think when you tell me I can't get with this woman here because she did that, who you legislate this? You know, now the test comes when you stand up, you're going to get attacked or you're ground. We see that.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Ronald, how did you keep your faith while you were incarcerated?
Well, like I said, when I went in, I was a mad Black Panther.
You were a mad Panther.
Oh, mad Black. Oh, this was incarcerated me. I said, I'm going to call someone hell. They're going to get me out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And everywhere I went, I was kicking all around. Yeah, they put me in max security. I tell her that was my thing. Put me in max security, give me some books, something to read. Oh. So I never let my mind and my aspiration get incarcerated. It's the same principle, man, that was all of you.
Your body was incarcerated, but not your mind.
Not your mind. I said, I'm going to turn this into a university and educate myself. Yeah, I'm not going to serve time, let time serve me. Not only me, other brothers like Norris Henderson, and this brother right here too. All of them, Devil Johnson, He came back, what he did? He said, education was number one priority. He got educated, and then we started doing the best we could do, and helping the youngsters. Yeah, educating them, teaching them. You want to be a fool? You be mine. Yeah, we didn't spend around for a child. We showing them right there now. Look, we in here because we political prisoners.
Yes.
We had a conviction, and we gonna live one day longer than them. You did. And when Betty said we don't know, but the people on the street were supporting us, our mom and our father, all of them coming and visit you, all that helps. Because I know that when nobody getting visits from the streets, the people did anything they wanted to.
You have to have people who care about you.
Come up there visiting you, they ain't gonna do nothing created.
Yeah, because they knew that if they hurt you, the people in the community would know about that, and they would protest it.
Ronald and how them brothers stayed themselves 40 years and build that mass movement. A movement is what the can inherit. Yeah, you know, whether you're right or wrong on what you did, it's, you know, when the people got the movement there for them, 40 years, it didn't measure no time. Because when the Creator ready to open doors for them, he opened doors for them. It ain't, like I said, brother, talking about the Angola 3. You know, I would have been Angola 1. Like I said, we was up there teaching young brothers up there, meeting with Falcon Boots, and we would get them young brothers. When it's coming in there, we keep them wolves off, and we tell them, no, y'all ain't gonna mess with the dude. So we used to tell them, you know, this is your grandson, your kid, and you want to do this. And they respected us, because the only thing they know, we had conviction, and they know we was. And then people see you fighting the imp, they say, "Oh, he fighting him." I used to go on tears and go singing the Black Panther Party song. Them dudes,
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Ronald, though. I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing one of those songs with us today. Maybe you and Miss Betty could sing one that we could all jam out to.
Betty,
whoever got the best memory, a chant or a song.
All power to the people. All power to the people. Right on. All power to the people. If my mama don't go, I'm gonna journey right on. And if my daddy don't go, I'm gonna journey right on, cause I done signed up for the revolution. Yeah, you know.
All right.
I say,
all right. You said, if my mama don't go,
I'm gonna journey right on.
I'm gonna journey right on. If my daddy don't go,
my dad thought I was the madman. Oh, my dad from Nashville, Mississippi.
Your dad was not supportive.
And in the running my Nashville, Mississippi, him and his brother, I asked him, I said, how come he never would take me back? When he go visit his sister, he never take me back.
He did not want to.
He probably figured I got hung. If one folks say something,
he figured your dad.
I was going to tell him something.
Wow.
He'd have hung me, him, and all of us.
Oh, my goodness.
Walk on the other side of the street. Why I got to get off in the mud, because you coming down here. Yo, I ain't getting you get in the mud. So,
but you said,
we're going to take you back
in this song, no matter your parents, but you had signed up for what? For the revolution.
For the struggle.
The struggle.
I can just say, and then God done took me then and molded me from elementary school. See, we don't know that. We'll be more from elementary school. You look at all Moses and all them. Moses, no way man told Moses to be a prophet. Moses told him, I ain't going to be no prophet, did he? But when he got in that wilderness, then God whooping and said, okay, I ain't here. I go back. Tell me you want me to go back and tell Pharaoh.
I love it.
Then he still wouldn't go back. And he knew what he's dealing with Pharaoh. He said, look, send my brother in with my knees. I
want to share something that I think is really important that I think a lot of young activists struggle with. So I mentioned to you, I'm the mother of a 5-year-old daughter, and I have a very close relationship with my parents. And I think parents want to protect their kids, right? They want to make sure that you don't have the same hardships that they did. You don't fall on hard times, that you don't have to struggle the way that they did. A lot of times when I'm thinking about when I'm out there protesting, or if I'm going to challenge the status quo, if I'm going to file a lawsuit against some powerful people, sometimes, even though my parents support me, they say, you know what, baby, you better watch out. What is that tension that's always there between the parents and the children, or the grandparents and the children? And how do we think about honoring our parents while at the same time honoring what's in our hearts to fight?
Well, no parent want to see their child hurt. Nobody. You love them so much, you don't want anything to happen to them. But at the same time, you got to do what you know you need to do. And you know, your parents know that most of them, they've done right by you, they've raised you right, and they have to trust what they've invested in you. And so you have to take a stand, knowing that someday, they may not understand it now, but they're going to be proud. I was so afraid that my mama was going to end up in the parish with me, because when the group with Ron was going to court, and my mother and the other mothers, Panther mothers, used to come out to the court. You know, you had to go through and take your belt off and all that kind of stuff. So after my mama came from court with them, you know, being in the courtroom, and she came and they had already taken her belt. And then you got the man sitting there. Well, we was calling them pigs then. I'm trying to be nice now. And you got him sitting there with his feet up on the desk and just banging his belt up across the desk. My mama went there and snatched that belt. You know, the word got back to me. I'm like, Mama, please don't come up in here.
So right, so your mother was gonna, she was gonna stand up for you no matter what. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the mothers did.
And
They all did.
ever you see the spirit of that. Every day that courtroom packed like that with mothers and stuff. And what
During
you
your
said-
trial,
yeah,
during
what you
the
said,
trial,
we had a
everybody
bad
came to
movement
support
with
you.
us, too,
Right.
Cause, you know, even when they told the trial counsel to the murder, Johnny Augustine had the black judge. He called in the room. He said, it got me in the middle. He said, I find y'all guilty, the black community will be mad. I find y'all not guilty, the white community will be mad. He said, well, tell me what y'all gonna do. He said, if I find y'all guilty, he's gonna give y'all 1 year on each count, run from current, and cut y'all back and say, y'all some courageous black youngsters.
wow,
Y'all
courageous.
some marvelous military.
Well, let me tell you something. You were courageous black youngsters then. You are civil rights activists and leaders today. And we are so grateful for you and so proud. And it's important to give people their roses and their accolades while they're still alive. And so for this 50th anniversary, we celebrate you, we salute you, we honor you, and we thank you.
And that's a blessing, like I said, now, just look at it, the plan. I always say, we don't say get perfect. You come in for freedom of religion. England wouldn't let them do no freedom of religion, freedom of symbol, and they fought a whole revolution. Bloodshed to get that. And now you come in power and authority, and you're going to persecute people because they have a preference different from your religion.
Yes.
But they're going to stand up to what? Give me liberty, give me that.
Right.
You
And
see? So, same thing. Ain't nothing new on that. You say, well, how we would tell? I don't know telling them we ain't spelled for the child. No. Man, we've been there, did that. You know, young cartoon gangsters. Yeah. You know?
this was about exercising your First Amendment right, your right to freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, your Second Amendment right, your right to bear arms,
Yes.
your equal protection under the
Yes,
law, your
all
14th
that.
Amendment. These are all things that we work on at the ACLU that we care so deeply about. And essentially, you wanted for our people what the
Yeah.
Constitution said we should always
And
have.
we fall one of y'all.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
even everything's in a progression. I can't say what the civil, what they're fighting for and the civil do. I disagree with it. I'm more militant. Well, I'm more militant, but still, though, let them bring the level with that, because all of it is in alliance, come to common terms.
Yes.
Come to common terms that we got a big old effort we're trying to get off our back.
Yes.
And it can't divide you when you're like, this last woman told us she's on soul food. He said like this, y'all can't live with power. Like this.
That's the
That's the wisdom in
significance.
that.
Okay,
And
so
this
you
is where it's at now.
take us out with that, Mr. Ronald.
Yeah, this is where you're at
Explain the fist and what it
It's
means.
the 5 pillars.
5 pillars.
Islam got 5 pillars. See, we were talking the party, the people first.
People,
Yeah. The party second.
party
And
second,
you third.
and you're third. Individual comes last.
But when I come
The
to my
community
spiritual
is
center,
first. Mm-hmm.
Islam, you see, the creator first. I mean, they don't put on it. You see, I like the creator first. Then who? Your holy book. Is the Quran. Then your prophet. Then your leadership. You respect your leadership.
So what does it mean, though, when you bring these fingers together?
Right, it's showing
And
unity.
Unity.
But they said power. They really had no limit. Them brother was saying power to all the people, the righteous ones. Because we know what unjust got all the power. Yeah. You know, see power to the people, not to the righteous people. And that's what you see now. It ain't. It's a vision. They're gonna say you can't kill a vision. You know. Listen, he said, "What happened to the dream before? Do it dries up?"
No.
He said, "No."
No.
He said, "It's a scroll. Good morning, revolution." You see, so this is what you did, and you learn struggle, revolution through struggle, and you off the back of people. If I see you doing something, I'm learning from all of that.
Yes.
Civic union.
Yes.
It's just that to serve. Now I tell the young men now, spontaneity, bunch of emotions. You burn out your whole house. Where you gonna live? And they gonna give you material to build it up. So it's not about emotion. You master emotions.
All right, baby. Let me just say this.
Okay.
Excuse me. He's on the road.
Yes, and I'm
Say
loving it.
that something you said about how you appreciate. I remember there have been times when I thought, I wonder if anybody remember us. You know, I just figured that we were forgotten.
Yes.
And then I'm amazed when I come here or I hear somebody else saying something about the Black Panther Party. I'm like, so there's somebody in this city that do remember us and care. And I tell you, that means a whole lot to me. I thank you. I thank Maggie. I think all the other people that I've talked to that say that they care about us and do remember us.
What you did for us as a community, I couldn't stand here. I couldn't sit here as the first African American woman to lead the American Civil Liberties Union of Louisiana if you didn't do what you did. When we say, you hear it all the time, we stand on the shoulders of the giants of our ancestors who came before us. I'm on your shoulders, Miss Betty. I'm on your shoulders, Mr. Ronald. Yes, indeed, I am. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much. Bless
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
today.
Thank you. You've just heard an incredible conversation with Ronald and Betty of the Black Panther Party. This conversation was one about freedom, about liberation, and the continuing journey that we're all on in search of what we all need in this country, which is freedom. They began that journey 50 years ago, and today we are still on that journey. I hope you'll follow us on our social media websites, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook at the ACLU of Louisiana. We are the nation's defenders of the civil rights and constitutional rights of all citizens, but we focus our work on racial justice. And the work that Miss Betty and Mr. Ronald have done for our country really symbolizes what we're all about. And so we're so pleased and honored to have had the chance to be with them. Thank you.